Welcome to Revive and Rise, and this is your host, Melody Parrish, and I want to take a moment and thank you so much for choosing to spend this chunk of your time with us. And today I want to continue to talk about traumatic brain injury and the effects and the things that we experience from our traumatic brain injury. So many of us have these injuries, and it's nice for others to be aware of different things that we experience, different things that we do, we say, and we take in from society. I think it's important to bring awareness because so many people don't understand. And because let's remember that mental illnesses of any sort are unseen. You know, if you break a bone or something of that nature, it's seen. There's blood, there's bones, there's maybe a cast or a brace. But if you're struggling mentally, no one can see that. And it's important to bring awareness to that. So I want to dive right in and talk about once, not that I completed the recovery, but once I was able to move around in society in a better way. And so one thing that you probably do notice is that sometimes I have to think of the word I want to say. Communication can be a struggle for me sometimes. Even now, it has been 20 years since my brain injury, and I've gone through a lot of different phases with it. My communication was very good about 3 years ago. And you probably would never have noticed that I did have a communication problem. You probably would have never noticed that I even had a brain injury. There were so many people that didn't know, and I didn't tell them either. I was very closed off about this. The only people that really knew were my family, those people that went through it with me, and a handful of people that I chose to tell. And then as I journeyed on, I did get a little more open about it. Now I'm really open about it. But that just comes with security and with confidence and with understanding. I have people in my life that are very supportive, and I think that's important as well. When I first started my recovery, you know, I was so forgetful. I had about, I would say, a 5-minute memory at the most. And that made it very difficult to function. Because I was so young, the plasticity of the brain helped me to be able to recover quickly, and helped me to be able to recover almost to the point that I had been at previously. There were still a lot of different things that occurred in me and with me that I did struggle with. But as time has passed, and as I have really worked hard and tried to train myself and retrain myself, it has subsided a lot. I remember not playing the game memory, but doing the same thing as the game memory. If you've ever played the childhood game, they're with little cards and you turn over the cards and try and match them. And I would do things like that too, just to try and sharpen my mind. And, with words, with pictures, with objects even. I would just put an object somewhere, and then I would walk away, and then I would try and find it. And that eventually did help a lot. That's one thing you can do if you are having memory problems that stem from brain injury, or really any kind of memory problem. But I would do those kind of things. I would talk. I would try and speak. And a lot of times I would use music. For some reason, and there is scientific research that can tell you exactly why music is used for communication problems. But I found that very helpful. And still to this day, when I cannot express things, or I can't express emotions properly, I can listen to a song, and that'll express what I want to say. So I'm very dependent on music. I love it. It relaxes me. Music is just my life, and I love it, and it speaks to me. So I would listen to songs and I would sing along, and that helped me to understand words and to understand how to say words and just thoughts and feelings and emotions. And that's a good practice too, for those who have acquired a brain injury of some sort. Even now, if I get really excited and I start talking a lot, and I start talking really, really, really fast, I'll start with words, but then it turns into just sounds. That's just the way it is. And I can't talk too fast. I'm unable to, which is very nice because I'm from the South. So we talk a little slower anyway. And enunciation is not exactly, the most important thing. We put words together, we shorten words, and it just makes speaking very easy, I feel like. Or at least for me it did. But those are some of the things I did. And I think it's really important. I write a lot better than I speak, because when I write, I have time to sit and think about what I want to say. Think of the word that I want to use, and there's nobody standing there rushing me or waiting. Because sometimes when you talk to people, you have to fire back an answer quickly. And that's just the way life is, right? And I'm able to do that sometimes, but I'm not necessarily able to do it all the time. And sometimes I get tongue-tied, and sometimes I pronounce words wrong, but we all do that, right? And sometimes things just don't come out right. It just happens. So throughout my life, I've been able to kind of cover up those kind of things. But definitely writing has helped me. And not just with the words, but with with the flow of things, and it's really helped me to practice speaking even, because then I can read. So what I used to do when I was really learning how to communicate well again, I would write something and then I would read it out loud and listen to how it sounded. And those are also good practices for others. Not even people with brain injuries, but just in general. People in general that are wanting to learn how to communicate better and how to speak better for a variety of reasons. And I found that very, very helpful. I was also, like I said in the previous episode, I had a lot of misplaced emotions, and I really didn't fully understand emotions either. I knew happy and I knew sad, and I knew things on like a child level, the level of a child. I knew happy, I knew sad, I knew good, I knew bad, and I knew hurt. But the more complex emotions, I didn't really understand. And so after the trauma that I experienced when I developed PTSD and decided to go to an EMDR therapist, that was the first thing that she had me to do, was to try and identify my emotions. And I would write, I always kept a journal just so it could help me understand. And I would write down these emotions, write down how many times I felt them, write down what they were, why I was feeling them, and I would just journal. And I've kept my journals, and if you look at the very beginning, the first notebook that I have, there you see all of these different emotions, and I would give each one of them a page, and I would write and explain and define, and I did that for months until I was able to understand a little better. And then that developed, and it's still developing. I mean, I think that understanding emotions and feeling emotions is a lifelong journey, right? I mean, none of us have everything together, and we all can learn from those kind of things. And that's not a bad idea for anybody. I think journaling and writing is a wonderful way to just get out everything that you're feeling. And no one else has to read it. You can just write it out and throw it away. Write it out and throw it away. You don't ever have to look at it again, but you get those kinds of things out. And that's what's important. I think those kinds of things are very important to life and to yourself and for healing. So those are some of the things that I've experienced mentally with the traumatic brain injury. The physical things, I have balance problems, which I tend to say that I'm clumsy. And I've always said I was clumsy to cover it up. But really, I do have balance problems. Every now and then, I'm not really able to lift my leg or to squeeze my hand in the right way. And sometimes, I have trouble breathing. I've always had trouble breathing, and the same trouble swallowing. And sometimes I get confused. My body just gets confused, and I end up choking or aspirating, one or the other. But those kind of things happen. people don't realize that some of us with brain injuries have to think about everything. Everything. And there's many times that if I'm concentrating very hard on something, I'll forget to breathe. I've learned that about myself, though. And the more that, the more time that passes, the more practice we have, then the more we learn about ourselves. And that goes for anyone. The more we're alone and we have time to think, the moment we just pause, we can find out so many different things about ourselves and learn so many different things about ourselves. And I think that's so important to know why you react the way you do. What makes you feel this way? Those are very important to do, both for those with brain injury or other health issues, or just anyone. Those are very good practices. So I want to close this episode, and I hope this has brought some awareness and some resources to use to help things that we may be feeling or things we may be struggling with. So thank you so much for listening, and have a super wonderful day.